I still remember that March morning when the first rays of sunlight touched the window of our penthouse on the Upper East Side, New York. Our apartment was on the 42nd floor, high enough to see both the East River and the Manhattan Towers as if they were reaching up to kiss the sky. I stood there, a cup of coffee in my hand, watching the city still half asleep, my heart filled with a sense of fulfillment. I thought I had reached something I only dared to dream of as a child. I am Grace Ellison, 35 years old. Ethan, my husband, was tying his tie in front of the mirror. He was always dapper, with his tailored suit, shiny leather shoes, and the strange confidence of a man who knows he is at the peak of his career. His artistic fireworks company was a huge success. The contract for the Las Vegas Strip celebration alone was enough for Ethan to be on Forbes' 40 Under 40 list. And me? I didn't appear in any newspapers. No one mentioned my name at award ceremonies. But I knew I was present in every party, every handshake, every glass of red wine raised for a new contract. I was the one standing behind him, silently serving as a backdrop so Ethan's light could shine brighter. I quit my interior design career when Ethan started his business. Not because I wasn't good at it, but because I believed that sometimes one person needs to use both hands to support a dream. And I chose to support his dream. I took care of everything, from choosing the restaurant for a meeting with Japanese partners, to spending hours learning to distinguish between Bordeaux and Napa Valley wines just so I wouldn't be caught off guard in front of clients. I remember one time, at a party at the Plaza, a VIP client, the owner of an international hotel group, was not satisfied with Ethan's presentation. I subtly intervened, shifting the conversation to his memories of the Paris fireworks display in 1999. From that story, I led the conversation back to how Ethan could recreate the soul of that performance in New York. The contract was signed that same evening. Ethan laughed, I laughed, and everyone thought we were an unbeatable team. Sometimes, I would look around the table and see envious glances directed at me. I had a successful husband, a handsome son attending an expensive private school, a multi-million-dollar apartment with a closet full of Chanel and Dior. But what no one knew was that I had never bought a pair of shoes just because I liked them. I always thought about whether the shoes would be suitable for Ethan's parties. Back then, I believed that happiness was a painting, and my job was to keep it intact. Little did I know, while I was carefully nurturing every brushstroke, someone else had started adding colors I never chose. There is a strange thing about happiness. It rarely collapses due to a loud event. More often, it starts to crack from small noises that you don't even bother to notice. At first, I thought Ethan was just busy. The company was opening a new branch in Miami, with new markets and new clients. He often flew away for a few days, came home at midnight, the smell of sea salt still lingering on his collar. He said, "It's just a few important projects, don't worry." And I believed him. Because for 10 years, we had never had a major crack. But then, some things couldn't be explained by work. A strange perfume on his suit jacket, not the one I had chosen for him, nor the scent of any male colleague I knew. A message on his phone screen, which briefly showed the words, "Can't wait to see you tonight," before disappearing as Ethan deleted it clumsily. The nights he came home late, he wasn't exhausted, but there was something exhilarating about him. Like a child who had just discovered a new game. I told myself I was being paranoid. People say women in their mid-30s are often too sensitive, imagining things that aren't real. But that sensitivity is sometimes a survival instinct. And my instinct began to sound faint alarm bells. Then came the party on the rooftop of the Peninsula Hotel. Ethan invited me to go with him. This was rare, as he had recently been saying, "You just rest at home, don't tire yourself out following me." I chose a simple, elegant black bodycon dress. We walked in amidst soft jazz music and warm yellow lights. I saw her immediately. Haley Carter, A young girl with silky blonde hair like a shampoo commercial, a red off-the-shoulder dress, and a deliberate smile. I had never met her before, but the way she looked at Ethan was not the look of an intern for a CEO. It was the look of someone trying to occupy a new territory. I'm not the type of woman to make a scene out of jealousy in a crowd. I chose to observe every small gesture. Ethan leaning in to listen to Haley, tilting his body slightly towards her. Haley lightly touching his arm when she laughed. And most importantly, how Ethan didn't flinch or pull his arm away. At that moment, I told myself, maybe it's just work. Maybe he's just being polite. But deep down, I knew politeness didn't have to be that intimate. When we got home that night, Ethan said Haley was a marketing student interning in the company's communications department. She's dynamic, creative. I think she'll be helpful for our upcoming campaigns. He said it as if he were talking about a new project he had acquired, not about a person who was beginning to tilt our marriage. I nodded. But that night, I lay awake. A sentence kept replaying in my head. A man doesn't usually invite his wife to a party unless he needs to prove something. I started paying more attention. The times Ethan said he was in a meeting but sent no emails from the office. The restaurant bills from Brooklyn, a place we rarely went to because it was too far. And sometimes, his silence was heavier than any lie. One evening, Ethan came home late. I was sitting in the living room with only the desk lamp on. He walked in, smelling of that perfume. I asked gently, "How was Miami today?" He answered without looking at me. Fine." That was all. Not a single detail, as if all of Miami was just one word. I didn't ask further. But from that moment, I knew that a part of my husband was living somewhere I couldn't reach. And maybe I had never truly owned him completely, even though I had sacrificed my entire life to keep him by my side. I used to think that when two people have been together for 10 years, all truths would eventually come out in a conversation. But no. Sometimes, the truth finds you not through a confession, but through a scene so cold that you wish you had never seen it. That afternoon, it was raining lightly in New York. I had just picked up our son from school when I received a text message from an old friend who used to work in the event industry. The message had only one sentence. "Grace, he's not in Miami, he's in Brooklyn. If you want to know, 6 p.m., corner of Wythe and N6th. I stood frozen, still holding my phone, my heart pounding as if I were running. Brooklyn. That name had appeared a few times on those shady bills I had found. I didn't ask any questions. I knew I had to go. I left my son with the neighbor, grabbed a long trench coat and an umbrella, and took a taxi. The rain made the streets slick, and the yellow lights of the cars reflected in the puddles like gaping wounds. The taxi stopped in front of an old red brick building, its windows fogged up. I stood across the street, trying to see through the rain. 6:10. I thought, if he doesn't show up, I'll go home. I could still believe that it was all a misunderstanding. But at 6:15, they walked out. Ethan, in a white shirt with rolled-up sleeves, was laughing with someone standing next to him. Haley. A form-fitting beige sweater dress, her blonde hair casually falling over her shoulder, her red lips wet. They walked close together, shoulder to shoulder. Then Ethan put his arm around her waist, as if that's where his hand belonged. Not a second of hesitation. Not a hint of shyness. I felt like someone had slapped me across the face. My eyes burned, but I didn't cry. I just stood there, staring intently, as if wanting to etch that image into my memory. I needed it. To never forget the reason I would leave. I didn't walk up to them. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my umbrella at their faces like some people would do. I turned around and walked away. Each step felt like I was crushing something that had just shattered inside me. That night, Ethan came home late. I was sitting at the dining table, a single yellow lamp illuminating the empty surface. He put his keys down, looked at me, and his eyes held a hint of confusion. Something rare for Ethan. "How was your day in Miami?" I asked, my voice calm. He paused, just for a second, but I saw it. I saw the lie flash in his eyes. It was fine, just a little tired. I nodded, as if I believed him. Then I placed a white envelope in front of him. Here are some photos I had taken in Brooklyn this afternoon. He opened the envelope. 1, 2, 3 photos. I had asked a friend to take them from a distance, so clear that you could see every raindrop on their hair. Ethan didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then he looked up. Grace. Don't. I cut him off. Don't say it's nothing. Don't say she's just a colleague. He was silent. The large kitchen suddenly felt so small that I found it hard to breathe. Then he spoke, his voice as light as if he were apologizing for something trivial. I needed someone younger, more energetic. You know, the parties, the business trips. I looked at him, the man for whom I had given up my career to support. And for the first time, I saw that he wasn't a part of us. He was just a person on the other side. That night, when Ethan was asleep, I sat in the living room with the lights off. The city outside was still bright, still noisy, but inside me was a deep, hollow void. I understood that everything had changed, and nothing could take us back to the beginning. I didn't leave Ethan immediately, not because I still loved him, but because I knew that if I left now, I would lose more than I could bear. I had been in this marriage for too long to walk away with nothing, and I was not going to leave as a failure. In the days that followed, I lived as if nothing had changed. I still cooked breakfast, still attended parties with him, still smiled at our friends. But on the inside, I had already started to plan. The first thing I did was review all the company's documents. Ethan thought I was just a stay-at-home wife, but he forgot that I had once co-signed many important contracts as a co-founder when the company was first starting out. My name was on the capital contribution records, and I had emails about the first projects. He may have had the spotlight, but I had the evidence to prove I was part of the foundation. I started collecting documents. Not in a rush, but slowly, as if I were collecting memories. Every company expense receipt for Haley, every business trip with hotel costs matching the address of the apartment in Brooklyn, I saved them all. I didn't send them to a lawyer right away. I put everything in a password, protected folder on my laptop. At the same time, I changed the way I presented myself. I was no longer just the CEO's shadow at parties. I started introducing myself. I'm Grace Ellison, co-founder of More Fireworks Artistry. A few people were surprised, but no one dared to deny it because they remembered me being there in the days when the company only had 4 employees and a small office in Queens. Ethan began to realize that I was no longer the woman who only knew how to smile and stand beside him. He asked, "What have you been doing lately?" "Living," I replied, and walked away. When Ethan tried to impose an unfair divorce settlement, offering an insulting amount of alimony, I just smiled. I sent my lawyer all the evidence, from the capital contribution records to the expense receipts for his mistress. I knew that if needed, I could drag him through the mud right in the middle of Manhattan's spotlight. But the biggest blow I dealt him wasn't in court. It was at a winter social party where almost all of New York's financial and art elite were gathered. That day, I wore a dark blue velvet dress, a classic style, with my hair in a high bun. I went alone. Ethan was there, of course, with Haley, red dress, red lipstick, and a triumphant look directed at me. I paid them no mind. In the middle of the event, when the MC introduced the main sponsors for the Summer Fireworks Festival, I walked onto the stage with the organizers. The MC's voice rang out. "And a special thank you to Grace Ellison, co-founder of More Fireworks Artistry, and now an independent sponsor for this year's project." I saw Ethan's face freeze. A few people turned to him, whispering. Haley looked at me, a hint of confusion in her eyes. I held the microphone and said briefly, "For the past 10 years, I've learned that fireworks are brightest when they have a solid foundation, and that foundation cannot be stolen by anyone. Applause erupted. I smiled and walked off the stage. Ethan stood there, not coming closer, not saying a word. In his eyes, for the first time, I saw a hint of fear. That night, I went to my temporary apartment in Brooklyn. I opened my laptop and signed the divorce papers. Not a single tear. Not a single regret. I had reclaimed the most important thing, the right to determine my own life. I don't know when, but looking at my own face in the mirror had become so much easier. Perhaps it was when I realized that what I had lost were things not worth keeping. On the day I signed the divorce papers, I didn't cry. Ethan tried to act gentle, as if this were just a civilized breakup between two adults. He didn't know that before I walked into the signing room, I had torn up all the wedding photos, letting them fly in the wind on the balcony like ashes. I moved into a small apartment by the Hudson River. It wasn't luxurious, but it was quiet enough for me to hear my own heart. During the day, I took on a new investment project from a startup company, something Ethan had previously said was too risky for a woman. At night, I went back to studying French, a language I had given up because I was too busy cooking for his business parties. I started eating alone. No longer having to prepare dishes he liked, no longer having to guess whether he wanted red or white wine. I ate what I wanted, when I wanted. Freedom, it turns out, tastes very sweet. Then Haley appeared. She came one Tuesday afternoon, just as I was returning from a client meeting. A beige silk dress, bright red high heels, the kind of shoes I had smiled at and wanted to buy for myself, but never dared to wear. Haley didn't knock. She just leaned against the doorframe as if acting in a movie scene. "Grace, you misunderstood." She started like that. Her voice was soft as honey, her eyes grateful to someone on earth who had blessed her with sparkling pupils. "Ethan and I, it's not what you think. He came to me when you two were already distant." I sat down in a chair, crossing my arms. "And what do you think this has to do with me now?" Haley swallowed hard, but still moved closer. "I just wanted you to know that I didn't try to break up your family. We genuinely love each other. You should let him go." I laughed. Not a happy laugh, but a dry, rattling sound that echoed in the air like a knife scraping against a mirror. "Haley, if you think I still want Ethan in my life, you're wrong. But there's one thing you need to remember. What he did to me, one day, he will do to you. It's just a matter of time." Her face paled, but she still tried to sound tough. "I'm not like you. He said you were too controlling. He needs someone who understands him better." "What?" I stood up, walking closer, just enough to smell her cheap perfume mixed with her arrogance. "Then congratulations, Haley. You've won the prize you wanted. But remember this: when you lose everything, don't come looking for me. I don't save anyone twice." 3 weeks later, the news spread throughout the financial world. Ethan was being investigated for fraud. His accounts were frozen, and the company was in a free fall. I received an anonymous email, an audio recording of Ethan and Haley discussing withdrawing money from the company's funds. The police didn't need me as a witness. They had more than enough evidence. Haley disappeared from social media. People said she fled to Florida, living off the remaining cash, but no one was sure. I didn't care. One autumn morning, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, sipping coffee, watching the yellow leaves fall onto the river. My phone vibrated a message from a partner saying my project had exceeded its revenue target. I smiled. Not the smile of someone who had just won, but of someone who had finally become herself again.